Okay, 6 o'clock. Let's get the city council meeting for February underway. Let's stand for the invocation.
Let us pray. We thank you, creative God, for those whose work sustains our nation and this community in which we live, for all who create the wealth by which we trade, and for those who grow and provide our food, or who in industry, commerce, and transport bring it to our homes. We thank you for those who by day and by night maintain the public services, for the police, for those who respond to emergencies, for this city council, and for all whose work is in health or healing or social care. Teach us to remember that all our lives depend upon the work of many minds and hands, and we pray that we may live thankfully in unity as members of one human family, through Jesus Christ our Lord. Amen.
Amen. Pledge allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. You may be seated. The invocation tonight was given by Mr. Harry Copperwood, who's the state chaplain, and I certainly appreciate him being with us tonight. Roll call.
Ms. Caruth? Here. Mr. Harris?
Here.
Mr. Tripp?
Here.
Mr. Olson?
Here.
Mr. Harrell?
Here.
Mr. Westcott?
Present.
Mr. Brown?
Here.
And Mr. Keller?
Present.
Mayor Harris is here. Trey? Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Next item up is the approval of minutes. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes as presented?
Motion to approve.
Second.
I should have a motion. Mr. Westcott and a second. Mr. Brown?
Yes, sir.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Financial report. Mr. McCollum?
Financial report for January 2019. General fund revenues were $1,224,505, 3.08% above our projections. Tax receipts were $853,351. Franchise fees and permits were $252,345. Comparison for tax analysis, 2018, the city had $346,246. 2019 was $388,876. Our county was $392,339. 19, $412,633. It's an increase of $56,000 over last year, or 7.58%. According to the budget, budget was $356,667. Actual was $380,876. County budget was $400,000. Actual $412,633. General fund expenditures, total expenditures $1,438,774, 25.62 above our projections. Less receipted was $269. Excuse me. Street funds, operation $167,988 for January, 4.28% below projections. Sales tax receipts were $603,436. Road tax $56,925. That half-cent current balance is $786,825. Street fund expenditures $177,900, 5.7% above projections. Sales tax improvements $126,049 for Inglewood, sidewalks, overlay, and Glenwood. Had no capital expenditures. Economic development revenues were $56,079. $47,609 was new sales tax. $6,473 from farm rent. $1,997 in interest. Expenditures were $8,944 for the Arkansas Valley Alliance. Current balances for the Economic Development Funds, 2003, $1,476,944. 2007 fund, $1,208,781. 2014 fund, $479,971. Capital assets, revenues were $399,376 for January. $95,219 was new sales tax, $15,487 for parks, $88,137 grant revenue, $200,000 transferred from the budget, and $533 in interest. Expenditures were $194,448 to City Corp, Police and Fire, Airport, and interest transfer. Any questions?
Okay. Mr. McCollum, if you'd stay there for just a second. It's with mixed emotions that I want to present this plaque. Mr. McCollum has been with the county as financial director for the last 10 years and has served the city very well. I have learned to respect Mr. Cohen and his abilities during my tenure as city council and during the short time as mayor. I can appreciate, and I have appreciated, his attitude and the class and demeanor in which he has brought to the financial director position for the city of Russellville. Mr. McCollum will be retiring at the end of this month. This is his last official council meeting. And in appreciation for 10 years of service and dedication as finance director for the city of Russellville, I want to present this plaque to Mr. McCollum. Okay, time for the mayor's report. Before we get started, I do want to recognize we have some Arkansas Tech students here this evening. From Dr. Rogers and Dr. Mummert's class. Dr. Rogers teaches Advanced American Government and Dr. Mummert Advanced Reporting. So I do appreciate you young people being here tonight, taking part. Item number one would be the nomination of Mr. Ruben Camacho for the Civil Service Commission. Mr. Camacho is here. I saw him earlier. Would you please stand up so the council can see you? Thank you very much. He comes highly recommended by the Chief of Police. I've interviewed Mr. Camacho and very impressed with his credentials, so I nominate Ruben as to be appointed to the Civil Service Commission.
Motion to approve.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. Mr. Greg Hines, is he here this evening? All right, the mayor nominates Greg Hines to fill a vacant seat on the Parks and Rec Committee. Greg has been involved with the community for many, many years, is retired Entergy, and loves to hike in the outdoors around Arkansas. And I nominate Mr. Hines to the Parks and Rec Committee.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Have a motion and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. At this time, I would like to recognize Mr. Jared Linton to come speak to the council relating to the history of the James Park and Elementary School, yes, and to tell us a little bit about what you have in mind for this historic location.
What I have in mind is we are, as a historical committee, we are trying to restore the history of the blacks in Polk County. I've noticed over the years there is no history of blacks in Polk County. So we are trying to restore the history, starting with James Elementary School. It was a school that was built back in 1926, and it was dedicated in 1927. This school went from the first through the ninth grade, and after the ninth grade, the kids had to be they had to go to Darnell School. Then once the Darnell School burnt down, they had to go to Martin, which was 125 miles. But before they hit 125 miles, the school board, I think his name was Bailey, they came together and they put 5 schools together to provide transportation to Martin Sullivan High School. It was 125 miles round trip. It included Atkins, Russellville, Darnell, Danville, and Havana. Havana was selected as the one to be in charge of the transportation because it was the farthest one away. Then after that, the kids that graduated from James School, before the busing came about, they had to go to Fort Smith, Little Rock, Conway, wherever they could to finish past the ninth grade, to graduate as 12th graders. As our committee, we've been researching, we only found in 1990, we found that the history of the blacks kind of died off. We noticed that the blacks only went up to the 3rd grade. Then in 1927, when they built James School, it was the first school that was built. But before all of that, Booker T. Washington, some of y'all may know who this is, he was a man that had a purpose. His purpose was to educate and train black kids and give them opportunity to go to school. What he done was he went to Julius Rosewood. He was the president of Sears and Roebuck, and he was a billionaire. And them two came together. But down there on Independence, we have James Park. Before there was a James Park, there was a James School. And we would like to restore the history of that. And through a memorial, we already put up a sign down there. I'm working with Jeremy Keister? Yeah, Jerry Keister. I'm working with him. I'm also working with a committee of about 9 people. We are gathering all the information, and we're going to put it on a mural, and the mural is going to be like 3 by 5, where you can walk up to it at James Park. We have an area picked out. I already talked to the Park and Rec director. I've been talking with the mayor, and in the sign that we have at James Park, what we're going to do is going to tie in with the sign that there, because the sign there has the first principle of James School. What we're going to do is it all going to tie together. You see the picture of the principle of James School, but it really don't tell the history of James School. So we're going to start from the beginning to the end of James School. We also are going to show the integration part, which started in 1965 when they integrated here in Russellville. The integration came in Polk County in 64, but we didn't integrate until 65. Then we went to Russellville High School. We're going to show the bus route from Havana all the way to Martin on the mural. We're going to show the history of James School. We're going to show the pictures of James School. We're going to show the principles of James School. We're going to show the woman named Miss Jackson. She was instrumental in getting integration in the state of Arkansas, also in Polk County. She lived here in Polk County, and she was very instrumental in getting integration here in Polk County. And she's going to be on the mural. So all the history that you need to know, you can walk up to this mural and you can see the history of James School and the importance that it played in the community. That's all I have.
And it's my understanding, Mr. Linton, that James Park sits where James School used to be.
Yes.
And unfortunately, the building was destroyed many years ago
Right.
without an understanding of the historical significance of
Yes.
that building, which is unfortunate this
Right.
time. And you and your group are seeking financial contributions in order to ensure that this mural gets built?
Yes, sir. We have a lady that was working at the Russellville Library. She is very instrumental on getting grants, helping us get grants. I'm also working with Jerry Keister, and he's the one that helped build the sign down on Independence. And I went and talked to him on his job, and he was very excited about it. He said, man, whatever I can do to help, just let me know. And we also asked him for funding.
And if someone wants to contribute to this
Oh, yes.
mural, who would they talk to? Talk to you.
Come to me.
You're the man.
Yeah.
Okay.
And they're more than welcome to come to the committee meeting, and we can sit down and talk, whatever needs to be done.
Mr. Linton, how would someone reach you if they wanted to donate?
Address?
It's on the email. I have an email address that should be posted. Okay, they didn't contact City Hall.
Okay, so if someone wants to contribute or get involved with this effort, they can contact City Hall, and we will
yes.
point them in the right direction.
Yes, that's going in the right direction.
Thank you very much. And thank you for that education. I really enjoyed visiting Mr. Linton and his friend recently, and they shared a lot of good information, a lot of stuff that I was not aware of. And to think that children had the bus would pick them up in Havana, Arkansas, and drive them all the way to Morrilton to get an education is a pretty amazing story. So we appreciate you educating us, and we appreciate what you're doing, trying to do at James Park. Thank you. Item number 4 on the mayor's report is Mr. Massey give a short presentation on the Polk County Library.
Thank you, Mayor. First, I just wanted to let everyone know that the Polk County Library is now open on Thursday mornings at 8:30. For years, we've been opening at noon on that day, but recently we have changed that to match all the other days. We always have a lot of programs going on at the Polk County Library. This week is Random Acts of Kindness Week. We are providing supplies for patrons to show their appreciation to our nation's heroes. You can make paracord bracelets for our troops, or write a thank you letter to a veteran, a new recruit, or a first responder, and we'll get those to those people. We will also be collecting small stuffed animals and beanie babies for care packages for children who have suffered a traumatic experience. The first full week of March is Teen Tech Week. As part of that, we will have a songwriting class hosted by some guy named Rob on the 7th of March. We'll also have a knitting class and a makerspace in the library where patrons can recycle old technology by making something new out of it. During spring break, we will be showing a movie every weekday at noon. A couple of these are Venom and Black Panther. We also have a book club that meets once a month, family game night, and a writer's class for adults, and also one for teens. We have story times and activities for smaller children as well. For more information on any of this, you can contact our Teen and Adult Services librarian, Kristen Pearson. If you have any questions, I'll try to answer those. All right, thank you.
And that concludes the mayor's report. Department reports. We're going to hear from the airport department. Mr. Frazier.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. Well, I'm once again proud to announce for 2018 that our landings and takeoffs were equal. We had a pretty good year with 2018. We ended the year at 70% self-sufficient, which is, my goal is to be 100% self-sufficient, so we still got a little ways to go. But at 70%, that's a savings of about $41,000 from the first year I took over. So that's not attributable to me. That's because of everybody sitting at this table, because of Jerry, and because of the people that I have on my staff. We've been able to do that. I think we're running more efficiently. Business has picked up. We're seeing, I'd like to say a big increase, but we are seeing an increase in business traffic. We've got some things happening now that we're going to see some more traffic with training. At the next Airport Commission meeting, we're going to have a presentation by a couple of gentlemen that want to start a flight school at the airport. It's basically going to be a transition class for military helicopter pilots that want to transition into fixed wing and go into the airline transport industry. So we're going to see some activity there, which will increase our avgas sales and also increase our traffic count. Last year, for our traffic count, we had 5,109 operations, which each landing and each takeoff is an operation. That gave us an average daily operation count of 13.7. What I'm seeing now, Monday through Friday, the people flying in to the airport are here to do business. And that's, encouraging to me. That tells me there's something going on in town. I'm not real nosy. I don't ask them what they're doing here. But when they get out and they're carrying hard hats and blueprints, it tells me something's going on. So, I'm encouraged by that. There's not only a direct benefit to the airport, but a direct benefit to this community. So hopefully that trend will continue. I think with the things that are going on with the flight school, of course, is definitely going to help not just the airport, but these guys coming in from ex-military. They'll qualify to use their VA bill for their flight training, but they'll also be staying here for housing, hotels, restaurants. So there's going to be, trickle down. Hopefully, and I see Dr. Bowen's here. I don't want to steal too much, but there has been some conversation with Tech in the past about maybe establishing a relationship with a flight school that these people can, if they don't already have a four-year degree, can also partner up with Tech to obtain that four-year degree. So those partnerships are forming, and as we progress, hopefully those partnerships will continue to develop and come to fruition. In your packet, I think there should be included 2 5-year capital improvement plans, CIP. The first one, CIP start year 2019, I really want to go down to year 2021, where we see the runway rehab and install the MIRLs, and that's medium intensity runway lighting. You'll see the estimated cost on that is $1.6 million. Our entitlement, and this is the $150,000 that we get from the federal government plus carryover, is $638,000, with an additional AIP of $818,000. Back in August, the FAA freed up $1 billion for airports across the nation for a supplemental grant program. There were certain qualifying goals that you had to meet in order to participate in that program. Unfortunately, we were classified as a micropolitan area, so we didn't qualify. However, there were enough airports in our region that did qualify. It freed up several $1 million in discretionary money. So in October, I received a phone call from our program manager in Fort Worth that said there's a possibility that this project, this $1.6 million project, might qualify for the discretionary funds. Said, I'm not guaranteeing it, but we've got it on the radar. Well, in December, received another phone call that said, we're going to fund your project. Can you be shovel ready by the end of May? Now, 5 months may sound like a long time to get ready for a project, but we have engineering to do. We have all kinds of background information to do. It's a long process. Hopefully, our goal right now is to have this ready to go out to bid by the 1st of April. To get the bids in, award the bids, have all the contracts signed and back to the FAA by the end of May, and they'll make their award in June. The additional AIP number that you see there, $818,000, that is actually going to be about $1.2 million that they're going to, in discretionary money, that they're going to give us to do this project. This is a 90-10 grant. FAA picks up 90%. The state picks up the 10% match. Now, we have to bankroll the project. Make no mistake about that. But this is 100% cost neutral to the city of Russellville and to the taxpayers. So, you know, we're getting the project a couple of years early, which in turn lets us start banking money sooner to do additional projects. On the CIP start year 2020, you'll see that we're banking in year 2020, and in 2021 we'll start the further rehab of taxiway G. With the CIP plan, this is just a planning tool for the airport and the FAA. This is a living document. It changes, as evidenced by this year. But for us to qualify, and this is where I'm very proud of the commitment of this council and for the help that Mr. McCoy has given me. You got to understand, we're competing in a region that is comprised of Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, and New Mexico. They're giving us $1 million compared to all these other states. It's something to be proud of. Very proud of. And I don't take it lightly. On a lighter note, with that project, the facility we've got is one of the best in the state. We get compliments on it all the time. This project not only will increase our runway strength, but we'll update our lighting system to LED lights, which we'll see a cost savings on. But it'll also, you know, bring us up to date. As part of this project, we're also going to install runway indicator lights on the east end of the runway. We have them on the west. We're also going to install them on the east. And also, we're going to build an electrical vault. Right now, all of our electrical components for the airport is in the old hangar 1 West, where the old FBO used to be. So we're going to split all that out in a standalone building. That way, that building, the old FBO, can be totally rented out, that I won't ever have to set foot in there. That everything that we need electrically will be in its own closet. With the exception of the National Weather Service equipment that they've got in the old FBO that we're trying to get them to move. They're always reluctant to move equipment, but I feel fairly certain that we'll get them to move that equipment. So, you know, all that being said, I'm very proud of the help that I've had from the council, from Jerry, from the mayor. We've got a lot to look forward to, a lot to be proud of. There's going to be probably some phone calls that you'll be getting when I start this project, because I'm going to have to shut the runway down. Best case scenario will be 3 weeks. Realistically, we're probably looking at a 6 to 10 week window, depending on weather. If the weather's dry, you know, and we get to do it in July or August, hopefully we'll be looking more at 6 weeks. So I'm gonna prepare you now, you're probably gonna get some angry phone calls, nothing I can do about it. Hopefully, we're gonna be able to leave the lighting that's in place there and put the new lighting either to the inside of it or to the outside of it. That way, at least, if they get the overlay done, at least we can be open for nighttime hours. But during the daytime, we'll be shut down. So, we're looking forward to 2019 as being a better year. A lot of things going to be going on, a lot of things on the board. There's some projects that I've discussed with the mayor that we'll be bringing before the council later on this year for consideration, and you know, it's all about growth. I've got a lot of property out there that we need to develop and have revenue coming into the city, and that's the things that the mayor and I will be talking about and be bringing before this council. Any questions? Comments? Oh, by the way, Jerry, April Fools, we're not accepting your resignation.
Thank you, Mr. Prater.
Thank y'all.
Okay. Item number 2 on department reports, Planning Commission, I'll turn it over to Mr. Westcott.
Mr. Mayor, the Russellville Planning Commission has forwarded their unanimous nomination for an at-large member to fill a vacancy on the Board of Adjustments. The term of this position will run from January 1, 2019 to December 31 of 2020. The gentleman that they have nominated is a lifelong resident of Russellville. He is a 2003 graduate from Russellville High School and also attended Arkansas Tech. He and his wife, Kristen, have been married for 8 years, and they have 2 small boys. He is a senior project manager for a local family company that has served the River Valley for over 40 years. His leadership training and passion for service will be a tremendous asset to the board. And on behalf of the Planning Commission, it is my pleasure to recommend to you and through you to the council, Mr. Justin Cothran.
So, do we need to act on that at this time?
And I present that in the form of a motion.
Understand?
Second that.
We have a motion and a second for approval. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, I say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item passes. Committee reports. Finance Committee, Mr. Westcott.
Okay. Having met in regular session on February 11, the Finance and Property Committee has approved and recommends to the council the following items. Items number 1 and 2 together, a discussion on the Coville Court Road funding and the line item transfer in the amount of $192,062.70, and we present that in the form of a motion.
I have a motion. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion
Abstain.
carries.
Mayor, abstain.
Mark.
Understand I have one abstention from Mr. Chuck.
Items number 3 and 4 together, discussion of the purchase of 6 police vehicles for the police department. That is an appropriation from the police department in the amount of $217,471, and we make that in the form of a motion.
Understand we have a motion.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Items number 5 and 6 together, discussion to continue the job path relationship with Friendship Services Star Industries to keep the downtown bulb outs and walks clean at approximate cost of $175 per month, and the appropriation for that from the administration in the amount of $2,500, and we present that in the form of a motion.
Understand I have a motion. Any
Second.
discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion's approved.
Item number 7, I want to take that separate from number 8, is Consideration of an ordinance waiving competitive bidding for the removal of the yard waste at the animal shelter. And I'd like to have Mr. Mike Vernon speak to that.
Yes, the reason we ask you to waive the competitive bidding is because we only have one company that ever bids it. And it's a local company here, located here in Russellville, and so we just ask you to waive the bidding so that way we're not spending money, you know, advertising for the bidding and all that, and just cut straight to the cost for them, so.
Now, Mr. Vernon, is that for grinding and the removal of?
Grinding and removal and sales tax, this extra $15,500.
And that will remove not only the mulch that they grind, but the entirety of the mulch that is currently there at the animal shelter?
That's correct. Because now, ADEQ regulations, we have to even remove the stuff that's been there for, you know, the previous year. We're supposed to remove it off the site, so.
Approximately $39,000 for this activity.
Accumulated more stuff.
And to your knowledge, there's no other fairly local company that would grind? It's not the moving so much as the grinding?
No, I even researched it online back when this came, you know, towards the end of August, starting in August, and looked, and I couldn't find anybody locally.
Okay.
I will also add to the council that we are looking at, and Mr. Vernon presented this earlier, we're looking at a company that's going to be installing an incinerator. And so we will have the option of incineration next year, and we'll look at the cost of that in comparison to the grinding.
And it's supposed to reduce the cost, so.
So this being an ordinance, do you need us to suspend the rules and read one time?
Yes, that would be
Okay.
preferable.
My motion is to dispense with the reading requirement, read one time by title only with a short explanation.
I understand, have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
Motion and a second, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
An ordinance waiving competitive bidding, employing a grinding company to grind all organic materials at the city yard waste compost facility, authorize the mayor and city clerk treasurer to sign all necessary documents to employ the grinding company, and for other purposes, this ordinance, if passed, to waive the bidding requirement for, that is the state law, for bids of services in excess of $20,000, and would allow the mayor and city clerk treasurer to sign an agreement with Wood Chips and More to remove the compost that's currently at the animal shelter.
So your motion was to read one time only with emergency clause. So we need a motion now to.
Well, I did not include the emergency clause in this.
We still need to adopt though, right?
Correct. And I do make the motion to adopt.
Second.
We have a motion to adopt and a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Mayor, in regard to the emergency clause, what would the emergency be that would want us to make this go into effect immediately versus 30 days from now?
I'll give you my perspective, then I'll let Mr. Vernon address that. But I was out there Saturday dumping some yard waste, and they are almost backed up. The yard waste is full almost to the building at this point in time, and they're having to really move it around. It's full out there. Mr. Vernon, would you like?
That is correct. We're probably 10 feet away from our new building. We've got that much stuff collected right now, so it needs to be done immediately.
Can they get to this in the next few days, week or two?
Yes, tentatively, they're gonna start Monday if this is passed.
Okay, motion to enact the emergency clause.
Second.
I have a motion and a second for emergency clause. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries for emergency.
Thank you.
Okay. Item number 8 is the appropriation for that ordinance in the amount of $15,500, and we make that in the form of a motion.
Motion.
That was my motion.
Second.
Doesn't require a second.
Understand we have a motion, Mr. Westcott, for appropriation, $15,500. We have a second.
Second. Doesn't
Mr.
require a
Olson? Any discussion?
second. Negative.
Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 9 is an appropriation from the Parks and Rec Department, an insurance pass-through in the amount of $1,183.03, and we make that in the form of a motion.
Have a motion here, a second.
Second.
That's Keller.
Second, Mr. Keller. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 10 is a consideration for hiring a part-time receptionist for the mayor's office in the absence of our current receptionist. This was passed in the Finance Committee, changed to temporary part-time with a salary cap of $5,000, and we make that in the form of a motion.
Understand we have a motion. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 11 is an appropriation from the Capital Asset Fund to repair the heating, ventilation, and air conditioning unit at the police department in the amount of $8,224.50, and we make that in the form of a motion.
Understand we have a motion. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 12 and 13 together. Discussion to raise the city engineer's salary to $95,000, and number 13 is the appropriation for what I believe to be the rest of the year's portion of that, and we make that in the form of a motion.
Have a motion. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, item number 14 is an appropriation from the street fund for aerial photographs for the geographic information system in the amount of $12,287, and we make that in the form of a motion.
Have a motion. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 15 is an appropriation from administration in the amount of $10,000 for the increased funding that was approved for the Boys and Girls Club, and we make that in the form of a motion.
Have a motion. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 16 is an appropriation from administration. It's a revenue pass-through in the amount of $29,000 in lieu of tax, and we make that in the form of a motion.
Have a motion. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 17 is discussion for hiring a city planner for the city of Russellville with a salary range of $40,000 to $60,000. It was passed through the Finance Committee last week with a new range set at $45,000 to $55,000, and we make that in the form of a motion.
Have a motion. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Okay, that takes care of the agenda from last Monday. This evening, the Finance and Property Committee met at 5:30, approved and recommends to the council the following items. If you have your list in front of you of the Finance Committee agenda from this evening, beginning at item number 3, an appropriation from administration in the amount of $7,924.91 to replace the battery backup for the police department computer and server, and we make that in the form of a motion.
I have a motion. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 4 is an appropriation from the capital rollover fund in the amount of $100,000 to pay off the fire trucks, and we present that in the form of a motion.
I have a motion. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Moving down to item number 6, consideration of paying the River Valley Alliance their attached invoices in the amount of $8,249.33. And we make that in the form of a motion.
I have a motion, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 7 is a consideration of a resolution to authorize the city attorney to start eminent domain proceedings to acquire the necessary property for the South Inglewood Street and drainage improvements, and we make that in the form of a motion.
I have a motion, any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Item number 8 is consideration of a resolution to sign a lease agreement between the city and Arkansas Tech University for the old Central Fire Station and the former church building to be used as an innovation hub, and we make that in the form of a motion.
I have a motion, any discussion?
I do. I want to throw something in there. I don't want to derail this at all, but I do think that we need to split that up into 2 separate leases, just in case something happens in the church building or the fire station at the end of it. Does that make sense?
It does.
Okay.
Do you make that in the form of a motion?
And I'd like to put that in the form of a motion.
Okay, so I do have a motion that we take the
Motion
current
to amend.
contract,
Motion to amend.
the current resolution, and we split that into 2 different lease agreements
Yes.
for approval. Do I have a second?
I'll second that.
I have a second, Mr. Westcott. Any discussion?
Yes. Would the terms of the resolution be similar, or if not word for word, for the 2 separate buildings?
That's correct.
Is that, okay.
Yes.
What about the junior auxiliary?
They're meeting in the white building, are they not? Yes.
They're already meeting there, and this particular lease agreement would not interfere with their abilities to meet. Okay, so I have a motion to revise the lease agreement and the resolution into 2 separate documents. And I have a second by Mr. Westcott. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? So the motion carries.
So item number 8 now is a consideration of a resolution to sign 2 lease agreements between the city and Arkansas Tech for the old Central Fire Station and the second for the former church building, and we make that in the form of a motion.
I understand we have a motion to sign both lease agreements once they are drafted in the resolutions. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second, Mr. Olson. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
And the last on my agenda is an appropriation from the Capital Fund Airport in the amount of $308,000. This appropriation is for engineering and design for the overlay and lighting grant. It will be 100% reimbursed to the city, and we make that in the form of a motion.
I have a motion. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Mr. Westcott, does that conclude the Finance Committee agenda items?
It does.
All right, we'll move on to Personnel Committee.
Mr. Mayor,
Mr. Harrell.
2 items there listed. One is the consideration of the Russell City Planner job. That was approved by the Personnel Committee, the specifics on that. And the second item is consideration of the temporary part-time administrative assistant job to the mayor's office that we've already approved funding for, and we present those both in the motion.
You want to present them both in the same motion?
Yes.
Okay, so I have a motion for both items. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor? Say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, unfinished old business. We currently have a consideration of an ordinance to rezone property located at 1710 West Charlie Place, currently C4 neighborhood and quiet business, to C2 highway commercial to allow behavioral health facility And this is the second of 3 readings.
Mayor, I'd like to move to read as the final reading, short title only for passage tonight.
I second that.
I have a motion to read, final reading for passage, and a second by Mr. Westcott. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
An ordinance rezoning certain realty in the city of Russellville, Arkansas, and for other purposes, this ordinance, if passed, would rezone realty located at 1710 West C Place in Russellville, Arkansas, that is currently zoned C4 to C2, as further described in the attached aerials of Exhibit A and B, and by the legal description in Exhibit C.
Motion to adopt.
Second.
Motion to adopt. And a second from Mr. Tripp. Any discussion? Okay. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Mayor, should we ask Mr. Jones if there's a need for an emergency clause on this?
We certainly can do that.
It's right there.
Mr. Jones, is there a need to move for this?
You know, as I explained last month, it's just, you know, anything that we can do to expedite, St. Mary's is definitely, eager to get started on this project, so.
So you would prefer that if we could,
We
we
would
would pass
prefer
emergency clause
the
tonight?
emergency
So moved.
clause, if at all
Understand I have a
possible.
motion to adopt the emergency clause? Is there a second?
Second.
Have a second, Mr. Brown. Any discussion?
Yes. It was brought up at the December meeting, and although I did not think at the time that it applied to the motion I was making, it is recommended that there be a genuine emergency that can be spelled out in writing before one chooses to enact the emergency clause. And I'm curious, other than financial considerations, what that emergency to the city might be.
My thought on it was, you know, they had requested it to be approved in January in standard procedure. We typically don't do that, so we let it set 30 days. And so instead of requiring another 30 days, you know, we already pushed them back one reading anyway. I don't have a problem with passing it because it facilitates development, and this is a development use of an empty current building.
Well, you have to say why. You have to give the facts as to the emergency. And, of course, if it's ever invalidated by a court of law, it just pushes it back to 30 days. It does not invalidate the ordinance itself.
Okay. Does everyone understand that?
I do. I'm just trying to get out of the habit of enacting that emergency clause without a definite, bona fide, tangible emergency that we can write on paper.
And I just want to say, I do appreciate Mr. Westcott's challenges to keep the council in line with expectations. So I do have a motion and a second.
Is this something we could, we talked about having a special called meeting in the next week. Is this something we can do then also?
Yes, this is something that we definitely can add this to the agenda for a special call meeting.
What's the difference between then and now?
Doing 3 separate readings, 3 separate times, more time for people to.
I'm good either way.
We've
Well,
passed
we've
it.
made a
Already
motion,
passed.
we've made a motion to pass. All we're talking about now is whether it's adopted in 30 days or immediately. Thank you for that clarification,
You
Mr.
don't have to
Tripp.
go emergency clause that way.
And I'm certainly good with it. I just didn't want this to pass by without at least saying something about, hey, what's the emergency that we're voting on?
And I appreciate your challenge.
Yep.
Any further discussion? Okay, so I have a motion to adopt the emergency clause in a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
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 Ms. Scott, can you do a roll call?
Yes. Hold on. All right. Who made the motion? Mark? Mr. Tripp?
Yes.
Mr. Olson?
No.
Mr. Keller?
No.
Mr. Harris?
Yes.
Mr. Harold?
Yes.
Ms. Caruth? No. Mr. Brown,
Yes.
Mr. Westcott.
Yes.
It's 5-3.
5-3, motion carries.
It takes 2/3 to pass emergency clause.
2/3. Okay, motion does not carry, so the motion, this particular ordinance will be enacted in 30 days. Item number 2, consideration of an ordinance for RDOT Tech City Partnership. This is the second of 3 readings.
Mayor, I move that we dispense with the reading requirement, read the second and final reading by title only with a short explanation.
I have a motion for second and final reading on this ordinance. I have a second. I have a motion. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second? Do I need discussion on this? This is the reading.
If we're just reading it, then, yeah, just defer it.
Motion to approve?
You're asking for ayes?
Yes.
Aye.
I'm sorry. I said motion to approve. Thank you very much. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
Have one no. Motion carries.
Mr. Harris.
That was to suspend the rules, correct? Okay. An ordinance authorizing the mayor and city clerk treasurer to sign all necessary documents departing with Arkansas Tech University and Arkansas State Highway Commission for improvements on State Highway 7 adjacent to Arkansas Tech University, accepting portions of Highway 326, Section 1 between Highway 64 and Highway 7 into the city street system for the city of Russellville, Arkansas from the Arkansas State Highway Commission once conditions are met. This ordinance, if passed, would putting forward or start the process to work on the drainage across from Arkansas Tech University that is on Highway 7. It would also accept certain parts of Highway 364 into the city based upon conditions that are spelled out in Section 2, talking about the overlay of certain areas that have not been paid since 2000. And also to regrade and redress certain areas of the ditches within Highway 326, and also to put a 2-foot shoulder overlay consistent with RDOT specifications that are attached with this ordinance.
Motion to adopt.
Have a motion to adopt. Do I have a second?
Second.
A second. Mr. Brown?
Yes, sir.
Who
Any
first?
discussion?
Who made the motion? Okay.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Motion carries.
Mayor, Section 5 of this ordinance is in regard to the emergency clause, the emergency being the immediate need for drainage relief, specifically at the intersection of O Street and Arkansas. And for that reason, I move for the adoption of the emergency clause.
I have a motion for emergency clause to be enacted. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second from Mr. Brown. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
Ms. Clerk, City Clerk, would you do the roll call?
Yes. Mr. Westcott,
Yes.
Mr. Tripp,
Yes.
Mr. Olson,
Yes.
Mr. Keller,
Yes.
Mr. Harris,
No.
Mr. Harold,
Yes.
Ms. Carew,
No.
Mr. Brown.
Yes.
It's 6-2.
We did make 2/3, so the motion does carry for emergency clause. New business, consideration of a resolution for the Russellville Police Department for the calendar year to be able to destroy old records from the past years, and there's a listing in your packet that outlines what those records are. Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second from Mr. Brown. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 2, consideration of resolution for the advertising and promotion through promotion giveaways and incentives for the Aquatic Center. Do I have a motion for this?
Motion to approve.
Mr. Westcott, motion.
Second.
Mr. Brown, second. Any discussion?
Mayor, I have a question on this. With this, I understand at today's A&P meeting that the city asked for the A&P Commission to pay for some Aquatic Center pass giveaways for the Governor's School program this summer. That was turned down. So would this take the place of us needing to ask the A&P Commission to fund those passes where it allows the Parks and Rec Department to give those passes away?
They could be given, as my understanding from reading the resolution, up to a value of $600.
Okay.
That's correct. Any additional discussion? All in favor of the resolution, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Item number 3, general discussion of a referendum in reference to the PUD on Marina Road and Jennifer Lane. Do I hear a motion?
Need a motion to discuss? What are we making a motion on?
I think we would need a motion on the resolution.
If they're gonna do
Well, it's
that.
ordinance, but if you want to discuss it without adopting it, you can just make a motion for an informal discussion.
Motion for an informal discussion.
I understand I have a motion for an informal discussion.
I'll second that.
Okay, I've got a second. Mr.
Harry got a second.
Okay.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Does that resolve your motion resolve with that?
Did resolve the rest of this?
Should,
Okay.
All you need now is a motion to
then you gotta announce that.
adjourn.
Motion to, what was it?
We're done. I didn't know if you were gonna announce those.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Meeting adjourned.
I didn't know. I was just asking.
They can read.
Yeah, that's true. They should be able to.
Thanks for keeping me honest.
Oh, you're welcome. That's just one of those things, 2:30.
Yeah, and I knew that. Oh, well. Yeah, good. I want everything to be.
Cheers.
Right. Well, board. This,